So, Donna, what I wanted to ask you was, can you tell me a little bit about what a normal day looks like for you and Mary and your other children?
So I guess there really isn't a normal. It can be quite unpredictable.
Yeah,
It's quite challenging for anyone alone, being a single mum of five children.
yeah,
Yet with Mary, who needs full assistance with all her daily living needs, it's extra challenging.
yeah,
Um, Chloe's got to be alert to when the next seizure's coming.
yeah,
For example, just over a week ago at tea time, Mary suddenly started having a seizure. My son's tea was in the oven. So to get my 12-year-old to turn the oven off, her tea was disrupted because she
yeah,
was eating. Um, and then the whole evening's just thrown into disarray.
yeah,
It's as well as the upset. It's the worry that go. We have to go into hospital with
yeah,
the paramedics, and then it's worrying about the other children at home. Although Charlie's nearly 17, I was concerned. I found the last one quite traumatic because at one point Mary appeared quite lifeless,
yeah,
and it's wondering how he was feeling
yeah,
after that,
yeah,
and worrying about the twins getting ready for bed. They're only 6.
yeah, yeah.
Mary's daddy joined us at the hospital, and when I got home, my 12-year-old daughter had got her sisters ready for bed, brushed teeth, and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. And
It
how do the older siblings sort of deal with all of that, Donna? And how do you feel about that?
well, I reflected on it with them afterwards. I said
Yeah,
I found that quite traumatic to see Mary like that.
yeah,
Um, how do you feel? And he said to me, he detaches from it.
okay,
There's nothing he can do except be there and support.
yeah, yeah,
He said he's sort of become numb to it because it happens so often.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's part of his coping mechanism, isn't it, Donna?
he, yeah, it's very, very much sort of matter of fact.
Yeah, yeah.
In
And
fact,
yeah, go
he
on.
was super strong. I don't think I could have got through it so well without his calm presence there. I was
Yeah.
very proud.
Oh, brilliant. And tell me what goes through your head then when you're in hospital and you're obviously trying to focus on Mary, but got the other children and everything else. How do you cope with that?
It's in some ways a kind of switch off because I have confidence in my son, and I know he would contact me if he needed to.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's tricky. Sometimes I feel guilty because of the disruption to the others, and they
yeah,
never complain. And
yeah,
also, obviously, um, Mary's sisters, they're always worried about her. The
yeah,
first thing they want to know when I come back is Mary okay?
yeah.
And when will Mary be home? And the 6-year-old, can we visit Mary in hospital, mummy? But of course, with the pandemic,
Yeah.
they can't visit her when she's in hospital now.
Yeah. And just talking about the pandemic, Donna, what ways has that affected you and your family?
Initially, I was terrified about how it would affect Mary if she got COVID, and she had to shield in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I asked the older children not to go out either. So it was quite a big ask, really. You know, I'd prefer if none of us go out to keep Mary safe. But they accepted that and they stuck to it.
Wow.
And unfortunately, Mary's daddy and I separated June last year, and Mary was still shielding at the time. It was quite a lot to deal with the children being off school
Yeah.
and becoming a newly single parent. And also when Mary was able to go out, just being very mindful of the places that we go.
Yeah.
You know, not willing to do the regular stuff like take her into really busy places.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's sort of, as life is sort of returning back to pre sort of pandemic stuff, you've said there that, you're obviously quite aware of crowds and things. What other things do you think about, or, are there any things that you're anxious about in terms of life going back?
Um, well, I guess once the restrictions were lifted in schools, etc., I
Yeah.
was concerned that we may get COVID, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think it's a month ago now.
Yeah.
We all did,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
quite challenging to deal with. I was a little bit frightened. I was frightened how Mary would get through it, and also I was quite unwell. I had to stay in bed. I was frightened for me if I needed hospital. Daddy came over to stay.
Okay.
He took, because he had to care. I wasn't able to care for Mary or the twins,
Yeah.
who were only 6. I was concerned that Daddy may then get COVID, although he's fully vaccinated, and he had to have time off work, which is unpaid. So during it, I felt guilty, thinking, should I really be able to get up out of bed?
Yeah.
Like, whilst I should have been just concentrating on getting better, I had the guilt that Mary's dad's here and may get COVID also, and he can't go to work.
Yeah.
And it just felt like a lot of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you were worried about all the other kids and daily routines and things like that.
Yes, I just had to kind of shut off from like the regular daily stuff and think the main thing is that we all stay well
Yeah.
and can deal with that afterwards. But
Yeah.
yes, Charlie was quite poorly as well, and worrying about him really whilst I'm also in bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, thinking about your future and Mary's future and the children, are there specific things that concern you, Donna?
One of the biggest things that concerns me is, I'm 48 now, is my future health.
Yeah.
Hoping that I stay fit and healthy so that I can continue to care especially for Mary, because she
Yeah.
needs a lot of care.
Yeah.
And also, I'm concerned about Mary's seizures. She's over the last couple of weeks developed a new pattern where she has cluster seizures
Yeah.
every evening. I get concerned that they may become unmanageable.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, how do you sort of look after yourself, Donna? You know, you've said how important that is, but you know, how do you do that?
When Mary and the twins, the youngest three, they go to their daddies at the weekend. I try and do something nice with the older two children at home,
Okay.
and that's also quality time for them.
Yeah.
And I arrange stuff for myself, like a meditation evening.
Right.
Um, I've just I'll go and visit my mum, and it's nice to visit her without the little ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Excellent.
with me, I can just concentrate on
Yeah.
being me, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how has Together for Short Lives supported you and your family in the last year, Donna?
I can honestly say, just knowing that Together for Short Lives is there is a big comfort in itself. And then if I'm having a bad day, and I might think, who can I talk to that's not going to judge or
Yeah.
invalidate my feelings, I have used the helpline,
Yeah.
and it's nice just to have someone to listen. And there's no, although people don't mean to make untoward comments,
Yeah.
some of them can sting a little, but on the helpline there isn't any of that. It's just listening,
Yeah.
and it helps my feelings to be validated.
Yeah. Excellent. What would you say to other sort of families in similar situations, Donna, who, you know, aren't even aware of Together for Short Lives?
um I would say to people, try and get as much support as you possibly can, because that's a great way to keep you strong. I'd point them in the direction of Together for Short Lives and say, there's a lovely helpline with lovely, friendly people on
Yeah.
the end of the phone. If things ever get too much or you just want to chat, there's always someone
Yeah.
there to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But support is key.
Yeah.
As many relevant support groups as you can, and
Yeah.
meet,
Absolutely.
meet other mums in similar situations,
Yeah.
such as the Families Together group.
Yeah.
I found that very helpful.
Brilliant. You talk about sort of support structures there, Donna. Have you got some local support structures, you know, in place to help you as well?
I um I haven't really got anything local in Cheshire.
Okay.
We have access to Hope House Children's Hospice.
Yeah.
That's about a 50-minute drive from me.
Yeah.
But local to me, for children with
Yeah.
life-limiting illnesses, unless I've missed a group, I
Yeah.
really don't feel there's
Yeah.
support for that in my local area.
Yeah. So having a national sort of, as you say, helpline support group is fundamental, really, isn't it, for
It
where those
is,
aren't around?
with the absence of similar group in my area.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Specifically for children with life limited illness, I don't know of any.
Yeah, yeah. And also for your other children as well. You know, you've talked about the support from your oldest too. I'm guessing, um, you know, they need your support as well as other support as well.
Um, we have access to sibling support from Hope House Children's Hospice,
Great.
and unfortunately, visits are out because of the pandemic, but
Yeah,
they regularly check in with the other 4 siblings with nice little cards,
brilliant.
and sometimes like gift boxes, and it really brightens the day.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just those little things that make a huge difference, isn't it, Donna?
I think as well, it's like, although the children have never given me the impression they think this, it's like, actually, it's not just all about Mary, we're important too.
Absolutely. And
I
that I
think
think that, you know, that's really significant for you as a mum as well, because you're a mum to your 5 children, aren't you?
um yes, I mean, I've got 3 other children that have left home as well,
Wow.
but, yes, there has been little comments just innocently from my 6-year-old twins, like, mummy, Mary's the most important one in the house, she's more important than us, and that hurts my heart. And I say, it's not that Mary's more important than you, you're equally as important as Mary. It's just that Mary has a lot of additional needs
Yeah,
and needs more attention, but you're just as important as each other.
absolutely. Yeah, I know. Oh, Donna, thank you so much for talking to me today. Was there
You're
anything else
welcome.
that you wanted to say or mention before we log off?
I just want to say that, I genuinely think Together for Short Lives is brilliant. Um, it's a great has a great place in my heart, and I'm happy to have the support from it.
Brilliant. Are
Just
there any,
knowing that
yeah,
there's a great organisation out there
yeah,
to help really does give a lot of comfort in itself, and make me feel less alone. There's someone I can turn to for support
yeah.
when needed.
That's fantastic. That isolation, particularly over the last couple of years, I can imagine, um, must have been really challenging.
It it was actually, at times it just felt like being in a big dark tunnel. I couldn't visit my parents who were elderly, who'd normally give me a lot of emotional support.
Yeah,
It was very tricky.
yeah, absolutely. So you know, as you say, having some parent support groups and the helpline made a huge difference
It,
in that.
it's fantastic because there's people on the Families Together group
Yeah,
um, who have reached out to me, more than a few times, and I'd like to think they could reach out to me too if needed. And I know there's other people that I could talk to who share similar experiences and challenges.
yeah, yeah. Just in finishing, Donna, is there anything more that you would like to see from us as an organisation?
Um, that's a tricky one. I think in the future, when the easing of the pandemic allows, I'd find it lovely to have meetups, possibly family events. So
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's a great idea, and absolutely that's something we certainly would want to get going again when we're able to do that. So that sounds brilliant.